What's up, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Real Talk with the Razorbacks. We've got a super special guest this week. It's a surprise episode with Chris.
Yes.
Thanks for being on the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So this past week was a bye week. We got a lot of work done in the gym. What have the girls been working on this past week?
They've been working really hard, trying to take advantage of the bye week and rest our bodies and also get a lot of good quality work done. So far this season, I think they're hitting their groove, they're confident. So the bye week, we really try to take advantage of working on those details, just lining out handstands, positions, stuck landings across all the events, really trying to detail work.
So shifting gears a little bit, I want you to briefly explain your career and how it kind of led you here to Arkansas.
Okay, briefly, I did gymnastics for a very long time, longer than most of our athletes have been alive. So to sum it up, I had a great career. I did well coming up in the junior ranks, had a pretty big injury before I went off to college, and then struggled a little bit, and then ended up really refocusing my efforts, and then made the jump to the senior stage, made a senior national team, qualified to World Championships 2010, and then the injury bug kept coming back and biting me. Ended up being an alternate for the World Championship team in 2011, alternate to the Olympic team in 2012. And a lot of people say really should have retired after that, but being so close and getting to go and experience the Olympic Games, but just coming short and not being able to go out and really represent my country and compete. I wanted to give it everything I had for the next 4 years. So then I ended up training all the way through 2016 and going in and out of injuries and this and that and the other. And thankfully ended up being healthy at the right time, made the 2015 World team, and then made the 2016 Olympic team, and then retired after that and got into coaching.
So you've had an amazing career in the gym. How have you kind of developed your coaching philosophy from your career?
The way I like to explain it is I've been extremely blessed to have had good coaches my entire career, from JO through college through elite. But what I like to talk about is those coaches that made the jump from good to great have always been the coaches that really believed in me and motivated me from a place of belief and lifting me up. And that's what really, really resonated with me as an athlete. So that's what I really try to bring in my coaching style. I think you can get results a lot of different ways, but I really try to motivate and lift up and push in that aspect and believe in the athletes and be a positive influence, and that's kind of my coaching style.
Yeah, I would definitely say you're very positive in the gym. Very positive.
Yeah, sometimes to the point where the athletes even get irritated with me on how positive I am.
Hey, that's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, never a bad thing.
So you kind of talked a little bit. You had a pretty big injury. I can see you've got a scar on that arm. You want to talk about it, explain what that's from?
Yeah, so kind of at the time where I was really trying to up my difficulty and make that jump from junior to senior, I grip locked catching a Gymbacks, which is a lot more common on the men's side because the bar is a lot skinnier, so your hand can fit all the way around it, and if your grip is a little too long, your grip will actually go all the way around the bar and pinch on itself. So I did a Gymbacks, and whenever I caught the bar, my hand got kind of locked in place, and I swung all the way around the bar, which ended up just kind of blowing out my forearm, like multiple fractures, a lot of complications, developed compartment syndrome. There was some worry of nerve damage and if it was going to even be repairable at all, or if there was any talk of potential amputation and all these things, and ended up being 5 surgeries total, 2 plates, 12 screws, and almost 2 years out of the sport. So 1 year out, and then I came back, competed in one meet, had some more complications, and then had to take another 6 or 8 months out after another surgery. And it's really kind of shaped my outlook on sport and coaching and all these things. I cruised through the junior ranks, I guess, and didn't have a lot of injuries, thankfully so. And then this one thing really, it reminds you of the love for the sport when something's taken from you like that, and it takes so much grit and determination to get back to where you were. And so I feel like it helps me connect with the athletes whenever they're going through injuries. Like, I literally know exactly what they're going through, even if it's a different injury.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty injury, and like that's a long time to be out of the gym.
Yeah, it was right into my freshman year in college, which made for an interesting freshman year, but we got through it.
That's good. Okay, so you have a tattoo that kind of ties into this injury, but is also in memoriam of someone really special to you.
Yeah, so the tattoo is, it's kind of about my dad, but it's connected to the injury. So after my first surgery, my post-op visit, the doctor is explaining kind of all the complications and the risks involved. And he basically said, you got 2 plates in there that are stabilizing the bone. And even though those plates are really strong, they're not indestructible. So if your arm were to go through another similar trauma as this, those plates would break and they would basically shatter the bone and it wouldn't be salvageable and we'd have to amputate your arm at that time. So his recommendation was he was like, you're not going to do gymnastics anymore. And he looked at me and my dad and he said, I'll give you guys a few minutes and I'll come back whenever you guys have chatted. And so he leaves the room and I'm 17 years old, been on the junior national team, been dreaming of a shot at the Olympic Games my entire life, and just devastated. And I'm looking to my dad for something. And he just looks at me and says, well, you got dealt a crappy hand of cards. And what do you want to do about it? Do you want to fold and give up? Or do you want to play it out and see what we can make of this? And so I was like, I've never quit anything up to this point in my life, and I definitely don't want to quit this now. So let's play it out and see what we can do. So then the doctor comes back in the room, and I said, with all due respect, I'm going to do gymnastics whether you think I should or not. So I'd really appreciate you getting on board and getting me as healthy as possible so that, I can continue pursuing gymnastics. And the doctor looks at me like, who's this kid to go against, me as a doctor? And he looks at my dad, and my dad goes, he's like, okay, we start physical therapy tomorrow. And I ended up losing my dad to a car accident going into my senior year of college, and it was obviously a very emotional thing, but something that stuck with me in everything that I've experienced in my life was that small comment that he made that you've been dealt a crappy hand of cards, what do you want to do with it? So my tattoo is actually 2-7 offsuit, which is statistically the worst hand you can get dealt in poker, and then above it says against all odds. So it's just something that has stuck with me, and you can't really control your situation all the time. You can only control how you react to it and what you do with it, and that was something that was really important to me, not only during that injury, but also during that time of loss. There was grieving, there was obviously a ton of feelings, but that it is what it is, and what I wanted to do was play my cards that I've been dealt the best I could, and that meant moving forward and honoring him in everything that I did.
But I feel like that's something against all odds. That's what you embody every day in the gym too. That's what you teach the girls every single day too. That no matter what happens, you can still make the best of every single situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was another piece of what went into me wanting to continue for 2016 was, I remember watching the Olympic Games in '96 and being like, that's what I want to do. And then I remember watching Paul Hom shock the world and making the Olympic team at 17, 18 years old or whatever it was in 2000. And that's whenever I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. I can make that jump that fast. And I wanted to send the message that you can be hurt, you can be told you're too old, you need to retire, you're never going to make it, and you can make it. And that's the message that I wanted to send to any gymnast, male, female, whatever, or any person in sport, that people can tell you whatever they want, but you get to decide at the end of the day whether you're going to make it or not.
So moving on, a little bit more like rapid fire type questions. You have a lot of interesting nicknames for all the girls on the team. I want you to explain, or tell the fans a few of them, and then explain what they mean and how you even formulated them in your brain.
Okay. Yeah, I want to start with a little backstory. So, whenever I was done with my time in Oklahoma and I moved back to Houston, I trained with a great group of young men there, but there was like 20, level 8, 9, and 10s that we were working with. And it was easier for me to give them all nicknames to remember their names than to remember their actual name. I don't know why, I just connected better with that. And so since then, nicknames have kind of been something that I enjoy because it just helps me. It helps, to create that first relationship with a new athlete, makes it fun. So that's kind of like, I guess, one of my things. But nicknames, oh gosh, you've got Qui-Gon Joanne, Shafran, Wu-Pig Sufi, Kiki, Riri, Keekster, Kikapone, Clarice, Papa Doc, Angry Hickster. I don't know. They're Jet Ski. That's the best one. So the easiest one to go into is Jordan Olszewski, which I had the hardest time with her last name, and we were watching old videos of her compete, and her teammates call her Chesky. And I'm like, are they saying jet ski? As I'm watching the video, so then boom, jet ski was born, which then has sometimes morphed into Wave Runner 3000 or, the next level of that. And Maggie, who is a huge Star Wars fan, much like myself. And I think her middle name is Joanne, or her mom called her Peggy Joanne, or something happened where Joanne was part of her name. So then naturally, Qui-Gon Joanne instead of Qui-Gon Jinn. And then, what's the next one? Shafe was just Shafran. And then it morphed into Iris and Siri, which is Siri, backwards is Iris. A very entertaining backstory of family and who her character and her floor routine needed to become for her to perform to the level that she's capable of. And then Claire, who's Papa Doc from 8 Mile, the other rapper that's not Eminem that he battles. His real name's Clarence, but his rap name is Papa Doc. So then Claire, Clarence, Papa Doc. So
only naturally.
Also,
Bailey. You have a name for her?
Bailey, Fayetteville, right? So every time she goes out, she clearly puts on for the city of Fayetteville, but she's Bay, so Fayetteville. And then Kennedy is a great one. We were talking about hair one morning. We were in morning practice or morning lift or something, and she makes some comment about her hair, and she's like, yeah, you should see it whenever I don't comb it. It puffs out, and I look like Hagrid. And I was like, oh gosh, that's too easy. So she became Hagrid, and then the other natural side of that is Ned. A lot of her teammates call her Ned, which I took to another level of Ned Flanders from Simpsons, and then now she's Neighbor Ned. So they just kind of continue to grow and morph as time goes on.
Yeah, they really do. It's like one day it's like one nickname, then the next day we're coming up with another nickname, and then they have like 4 nicknames by the time you're done thinking about it.
Yeah, most of the time they like them, and it keeps it light in the gym.
It does.
It's always good to smile and laugh, and even if it means they're laughing at me, that's fine too.
So Chris, you get, like you said, very enthusiastic. You're also very enthusiastic at meets. What is your favorite post-routine celebration? I love them all, and most of them are, I would say, just natural, whatever comes out. But the one that sticks out in my mind is from Fayetteville herself. And this is because we kind of planned it, and they gave me a hard time about my celebrations as a men's gymnast. And they're like, yeah, you're like, oh, like this and that and the other. And so Bailey was like, I can't wait to stick my dismount in a meet so that we can do the men's gym celebration. And I thought that was so hilarious. And then we didn't even talk about it past that. And then last year, I don't remember what meet it was, but she finally stuck her dismount in a meet, and it was so natural. She turned and looked at me, and we both were like, ah! We call it the men's gym celebration. And so probably that is the one that I look forward to the most. That one is really fun.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it's very natural.
Well, thanks, Chris, for being on the show. It was really awesome having you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope the fans got to know something a little bit more about you that they didn't before.
Remember to catch us this weekend. February 12th, we'll be against Kentucky at 7:30 Eastern, and we'll be on SEC+.
Thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you next time on Real Talk.